Welcome to the Feeding Our Young podcast. Have you ever heard the phrase, nurses eat their young? Feeding Our Young is more than a podcast, it's a movement. It's a desire to see new nurses of all ages be supported and uplifted by their peers. And it starts with me. It starts with you. So join host Eric Miller, registered nurse of nearly 20 years and adjunct clinical instructor, and today's honored guest, me, Hannah Warnecke, and be ready to have your life uplifted so you can, in turn, uplift others. Welcome to the Feeding Our Young podcast.
Hello and welcome to this episode of the Feeding Our Young podcast. I am a little hyper this morning. Why? Because I've been up for 5.5 hours. And yes, I said this morning. It's 8:30 our time right now. And for whatever reason, this guy decided to wake up at 3 o'clock and not go back to sleep. So I've already been busy at work and doing all the things here at home. And might have had a little bit of caffeine to make sure that I had enough energy to get through this amazing interview. So if I get too off the rails, the good news is our honored guest today can probably help put me to sleep. So we'll just we'll unpack what that means here in a second. In the meantime, let's not waste any more of her time. Everyone, I'd like to introduce and welcome to the studio, Hannah Warnecke. Hannah, how are you this morning?
I'm so good. Thank you so much for having me.
No, thank you so much for being here. I love the different connections we make. This is another work connection, but not in the typical sense. Yes, I met Hannah in the birthplace, labor and delivery of our wonderful establishment in which we work, but she's not your typical labor and delivery nurse. So let's find out what's going on with her. So I guess the best way to do that, Hannah, go ahead and introduce yourself. Tell us about whatever degrees you're carrying and or chasing at the moment.
Sure. So I am currently in Gonzaga's Doctorate of Nurse Anesthesia practice program. I have almost exactly 365 days left, 1 year to go. Very exciting for me. It's begun.
Yes, the light at the end of the tunnel is getting a little bit brighter.
Yeah. So I love that. I love anesthesia. I love nursing. Before this, you're required to have ICU experience. So I worked for 3 years in a medical ICU in Denver, Colorado. And I did that after getting my BSN from Regis University, also in Denver. And that was actually an accelerated program. My first bachelor's I did in public health at Santa Clara University. I worked really briefly at the county public health department, and then went back to school for nursing, and now I'm back to school one more time. I think the last time.
I mean, it's kind of got to be, unless you're going to chase another doctorate, right? Like you're chasing after what they call the terminal degree. So, right. Which is ironic when you're a doctor of nursing anesthesia practice. Like, well, maybe terminal degree isn't the term we want to use for your particular doctorate. Anyway, moving along. So you just mentioned Colorado, Hannah. Where is home for you? Where are you from? What do you consider home? And when you're done with this degree, are you sticking around Spokane?
Home for me is Conifer, Colorado. It's about an hour west of Denver, up in the mountains, and I love that place with all my heart. My parents moved there before they were married, before I was born, and they will probably die in the same log cabin that they have lived in more than 30 years now. So that will always be home for sure. And then I love Spokane. I loved living in California too. Natural beauty is super important to me, and so I've loved exploring kind of the western half of the US. And I don't know exactly where I'm going to end up after this, but somewhere with trees, and that's really all I need.
And that's all that matters, really. Like, and I love the different personalities. You know, you got some people that are like, man, I'm a nature lover. A lot of people come to Washington State, right, because of the nature, because of the multiple seasons and forests and things of that nature. And others are like, nope, I'm going back to the city. I'm a big city girl. I'm a big city guy. And whatever works, whatever floats your boat. I've had the pleasure of being a little bit of both. So, but I'm not going anywhere either. So I kind of relate with your parents maybe dying in the same place. My wife is like, "Is this really our dream home?" And I'm like, "Well, probably not." But anyway, who knows what the future holds? Yes, exactly. So, without further ado, and we'll talk about them more at the end of your episode. What are the three words you have chosen to describe nursing school?
This was both hard and easy. Three words came to mind immediately, and also 30 other ones did.
And then let me guess. Because you are a nurse and B now chasing an advanced degree, both of those lend itself to what is that called? Overthinking things?
Absolutely. The three words I have chosen are chaotic, empowering, and perspective giving.
Amazing. And then on the heels of that, your three favorite songs in life right now.
Okay, I cheated a little bit on this. My first song is Choose Your Fighter by Ava Max from the Barbie soundtrack. That is one of my favorite songs to run to. It's a good hype song. Dreams by the Cranberries is classic. I could listen to that on repeat all day long. And my third quote song is just Silence. Life has felt so noisy, and I do a lot with just like deliberately turning sound off right now. I drive in the car in silence. Sometimes I run in silence. My boyfriend thinks that makes me a psychopath, but I just need a little more quiet, and sometimes I have to choose that now.
Yeah, yeah. In modern society, I feel like we do have to choose silence. You don't get that. And when you're a nurse, obviously, a lot of bells and whistles, a lot of alarms, a lot of this, a lot of that, a lot of talking, and a lot of listening. And then if you add a boyfriend, a significant other, in my case, a family, there's just so there aren't often times where you can create or have a moment of natural silence. You have to create that silence. And so I love that. I love that that's your third quote unquote song. And so with that, one last fun little opener. You have agreed, Hannah, is that correct? I have you signing on the dotted line to participate in the patent not pending unofficial Feeding Our Young Personality Test 2.0. Is that correct?
I agree. Let's do it.
Wonderful. So 5 questions, and you can give rapid fire answers and or rationale if you want. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. Would you rather sit in an aisle seat or a window seat?
Aisle seat.
Okay. Would you rather have one wish granted today? Now, mind you, this is not a wish that you can wish for other wishes. That is the caveat, of course. You cannot do that. So would you rather have one wish granted today or 10 wishes granted 20 years from now?
Oh, 10, 20 years from now.
Okay. Would you rather never have to wait in line again or always have a parking spot?
Always have a parking spot. No question.
No question and no thought. There was no overthinking on that one. Would you rather lose the ability to lie or believe everything you're told?
I already am really close to both of those. I'm a little gullible. I believe most things, and I'm a terrible liar, so I just tell the truth.
That's also, I love this. You're the second person to do this set of questions, and then, so I'm just like, no one's going to compare to the answer on that one. But if you had to pick one lane, which one are you going to land in? Because this is also an unofficial research project, so.
Oh my gosh, I would rather lose the ability to lie because I feel like even when the truth is hard to tell, it's the right thing to have out there, and so I'd rather be forced into doing the right thing.
Nice, nice.
A little bit against my will.
And the very last question. Would you rather never be able to go out during the day or never be able to go out at night?
Oh, I would rather never be able to go out at night because my circadian rhythm is my higher power. Like I struggled so much with night shift, and obviously like most people don't love it. Like you find a way to make it work. But I just like who I am so much better when I'm allowed to participate in the sunlight. And then like I'm perfectly at peace just being home with a cup of tea in bed from like 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. That's no problem.
Nice. Nice. Well, congratulations. The results are in and you are outstanding. So,
Oh, yeah.
yay. Okay, thank you for having fun with that fun little intro. Now we know everything we need to know about you, and that informs the rest of the interview, so it's great. Actually, you already sparked in my mind the first off, quote unquote, off script question, but how long did you have to do night shift since you detested it so?
I, for better or worse, got very lucky in that I only had to do it for about 6 months. My unit was previously, pre-COVID, a unit that had a lot of long-term, like people stayed
Yeah.
for years and years and years. The longevity on the unit was pretty good. And then everything happened, travel opportunities came up. And so as soon as I came off orientation, I asked my manager, could I please be on the list to move to day shift because I'd heard the wait time was somewhere between 2 and 2.5 years. I'm like, I'm asking now.
Get me on the list.
Rolling. Um, and she's like, yeah, I'll let you know when it comes up. And it was only a couple months later. She's like, hey, probably starting January, we can get you going.
And that was barely pre-COVID, you said.
So
I'm trying to do the math in my head. I'm like, well, wait a second. You got your BSN in 2019, so was it right like before? Because after COVID, I feel like there's those opportunities have become more frequent for newer nurses. But was this in 2019 then?
I graduated with my BSN in December of 2019. I was looking for jobs in the fall of that year, so like October. And I toured the unit that I ended up working on, and I met the manager who she's still there. She's the most incredible person. And I met a bunch of the staff, and like the team dynamic was incredible. I look back on that time with genuine rose-colored glasses. It was like afternoon golden hour, light streaming through the window, people, happy patients. I'm like, I would love to work here. And then I was scheduled to, it was part of a big hospital system that had a really structured orientation process for new RNs across multiple facilities. And so we were going to have several weeks of classroom orientation, sort of, what is our mission? Remember how to put in an OG tube. You haven't done this since school kind of
Yeah.
stuff. And we had a few days of the classroom style orientation at a different facility before they were like, you know what? Your units just need warm bodies to help with care. So go forth and be useful, and your unit will take care of the rest of your orientation because this was like March 20th or so of 2020. It was like right as things were heating
Yeah.
up.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the nurses that I started with were really just they're so special to me. They worked so hard to shelter me a little bit from the chaos of what was going on. My
Good.
very first shift was a night shift on orientation, and this nurse that had been in the ICU for a long time was my preceptor, and we were assigned to a place that wasn't even the ICU. The unit had taken over the pre-op area,
Okay.
formerly the pre-op area. And so we had a bunch of prone, paralyzed, sedated patients that couldn't see each other, importantly, because they were, separated in these cubbies that only had curtains. So they were all deeply in dreamland while they were getting their ICU care. And there was just one door to this huge cubby of patients. And so you would get your assignment. There were usually 2 nurses worth of assignments in that cubby. So we'd put all our garb on and go in there and be in there for 4 or 5 hours at a time and come back out, and we had runners. Like it was the whole COVID kit and caboodle.
Yeah.
And I hadn't really seen anything else. Like I had a tiny ICU rotation in nursing school, and my sweet preceptors like, okay, this is what we're doing today, but this is what we would usually do. This is what we're doing today. This is what we'd usually do. Like trying to
Wow.
for me and like still help me have a very stepwise and methodical orientation process in spite of so much chaos and so much being out of the norm. And I'm just eternally grateful to her. There were two main preceptors I had, one on nights and one on days, that made me even capable of being a nurse during such a chaotic time.
Yeah.
I'm very grateful to them.
Wow. I mean, and was that because I feel like what I'm hearing you describe is like this dual track being laid down for you. Here's what's happening now. Here's what would be happening if we weren't in the middle of this global pandemic. Did that make, I mean, first of all, my heart goes out to you. So kudos to you. Like starting out, any nurse that starts out in 2020, you know what I mean? I can't, my mind can't wrap around that because obviously I started a few years before, and so we didn't have to worry about all that and all the business. So when it's already hard enough starting a new nursing career, let alone doing it amidst a once in a century, hopefully, global pandemic. And you are taking it with like, well, okay, this is all I know, so let's just make this happen. Like, was it more challenging for you to have that dual track being laid down in your brain, or did you find that actually more beneficial moving forward?
Ooh, I've got a couple of uh, tidbits to offer in response to that. So
Yes.
one of them is this was like the freakiest and eeriest foreshadowing that has happened in my life. But when I was in undergrad, part one, doing my public health degree, I actually did a big that sort of thesis project. It was like a fellowship with the Applied Ethics Center at that campus about campus ethics during pandemic influenza outbreak, like as a hypothetical, because
Yeah.
I worked with a bioethicist there who, we were sort of looking at ethics in infectious diseases and how pandemic influenza was kind of predicted to be a once a century thing. And so, some people thought maybe swine flu, like 2012, was kind of what our dose of that was for this century. And then we just didn't know that we were going to get a really aggressive coronavirus in
Yeah.
2019, 2020. And so I did this whole project and was like intimately familiar with some of the logistics that public health departments think through and businesses think through with large scale, you know, viral infectious pandemics. And
Yeah.
it was all hypothetical, but extremely interesting. But I feel like I had already, when COVID actually came around, done a lot of the like mental processing already, like as a practice exercise. And so
Hmm.
um, there wasn't as much that felt unknown, I think, as it could have. Like there was obviously still
Right.
so much that was unique to that particular situation and for me as an individual, my life at that point, but it didn't feel as unexpected as I think it would have had I not been so involved in that project.
Hmm.
Um, so that was really interesting. And then as far as how that played out in my nursing experience, the I think I got, a lot of education from a lot of really incredible people on my unit on really, really sick patients, which was like a really difficult, mental and emotional weight to carry during that
Hmm.
experience. But as far as like learning opportunities, they were abundant. We were overflowing. Oh, I could manage a prone and paralyzed patient like, nobody else with 3 months of ICU experience because that was the only patient I ever took care of. Um, and then on the flip side of that, when I had like fresh off orientation, you have a preceptor and you're being guided through these sicker patients.
Yeah.
uh, they'll give you the sicker patients, and then a lot of times your early shifts on your own. They're like, okay, try not to scare you off. Here's a little bit of a softball, and so
Provide more of a soft landing for you.
exactly,
Yeah.
it was a great gesture. And then I had a patient that was awake and could ambulate like she was going to step down the next day, and she hits her call bell because she'd like to use the restroom with the bladder. And I'm like, I don't actually, I need to call for help. I don't know how to get you up to the bathroom. Like, I don't, the IV come, do I take it off? Is there a bed alarm? How do I turn that off? Like, none of the basics of like this woman would like to pee. I could not execute on my own because I
Wow.
it was just so different. And so there was maybe a little bit of catch up to do in some of
Yeah.
the like standard nursing cares department. Got there, but
Yeah. Yeah. You're like, I'm sorry, you're talking to me, for starters. And second of all, now you want to move.
like I'm
Okay.
super uncomfortable. This is not.
Anyone? Anyone? Come in. A little help here. That is, that's outstanding. That's one of the most fascinating. Like, I feel like that flips the script on its head, right? Everybody usually goes the other way around. And you're like, I need to know how to crawl now. I don't know. I know how to run, but how do I crawl with all this? Oh my goodness. Well, and you also, you prompt another thought in my brain too, because I've made no bones about the fact that I tell people, like, from a burnout perspective, anyone that has been a nurse through particularly those early COVID years, they're like dog years. You know what I mean? You worked 7 years in 1 year because of all the extra things and all the difficulty and like you said, the toll that the weight that you have to carry. But you saying that also now has opened up a different door in my brain that went, wait a second. Not only that, but the benefit of it. So maybe that was a negative or a potential negative, but the positive that comes from that is, dang, like you got to learn all these opportunities that you had in abundance. You had 7 years worth of opportunities in a year's worth of practice. So would that be accurate now? Do I just leave those two tracks in my brain side by side?
Yeah, oh man, I think it's true. Like there were so many cons, but it was not without its silver linings,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that maybe you had to search for depending on the day, but
Yeah.
others present themselves readily, and others you have to really dig for. Um, well, okay, then, uh, uh, we're only 20 minutes in, and I can already tell. I feel like, do I have your permission to turn you into a double episode, Miss Hannah? So we're gonna have a couple episodes of the Hannah Warnecke experience. So in this first episode, what I think I'd like to cover then is your nursing path, your nursing progression, and you can take that as far back as you like if you want to cover the general open question of why nursing. But then what the questions that I have specifically are, of course, why nursing, and then why public health, and also then why going into anesthesia? Like, how does that progression happen? And I feel like there's some pieces I'm missing there. So I'm going to shut up. You take the mic. Tell us your story.
Okay, you are missing a big piece, and it has a name. Its name is Douglas Edward Warnecke. That is my father. He is just one of my greatest role models. Both of my parents have influenced me, continue to influence me so much, and I feel so lucky to have such a wonderful relationship with them.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but they've had a tremendous impact on my life in so many ways, including my professional one. So my dad is a retired CRNA. He retired a couple of years ago. He loved his work. He's also happily retired though. And when I was little, like growing up, we were a big family dinner table kind of group. And so we would all be chit-chatting and they'd ask us about our days at school. And we wanted to hear about mom and dad's days at work. And my mom also has a nursing background and she studied high-risk perinatal nursing at one point and then ended up working in a women's care clinic doing a lot of OBGYN ultrasound. So lots of family dinner table conversations about healthcare. And we, as kids who hadn't really spent time in a hospital, we're trying to figure out, like, what are you doing? Like, tell us a story from your day. What does that look like? And
Mm-hmm.
um, our mom is like a very natural storyteller. And so she would paint these, beautiful pictures of what her day was like. And when, for her clinic, when you're 12 years old, if you want to, give the option to do like a take your child to work day. And
Oh,
so
wow.
we each got to spend a day with her when we were in middle school. And that was so cool just to see her at work and her interaction with patients. And anytime she talks about her work, her love of patients is like the title page. And I think hearing even with her having hard days at work, her hearing or us hearing from her about her love of patient interaction and caring for people, I was like, oh, okay, this seems like it could be a worthwhile path. Like
Yeah.
on the hard days, she loves what she's doing, so that's a good first step. And so then, you know, Dad does the anesthesia. Okay, well, first of all, that's really hard to pronounce, so that took a lot longer to figure out what is he doing all day. Um, and so I was like, I want to go. I want to see, like, take me to work with you. He's like, you have to be 16. And so I pestered and pestered and pestered. So when I finally turned 16, I was like, okay, I made it. I'm ready. Let's go.
Yeah.
And he did. He did all the paperwork and everything for a shadow day and let me come in. And in hindsight, it's so fun because it was like a super simple day of doing like little hand cases, like carpal tunnel type surgeries. And
Yeah.
like should be one of the most uneventful days in anesthesia you ever experience. And it was just beautiful. It was all so new to me. I was like, this is incredible. This is like practical witchcraft. Like push buttons, patient sleeps, sweet dreams, so peaceful, so uneventful, you know? And then several minutes later, they're like, okay, we're done. And the patient opens their eyes like right on time. I'm like, how did you do that? What? How did you do that? So that seemed super cool. And then honestly, one of the moments that I remember more clearly than anything else from that day was watching him do a pre-op interview with a patient that was really nervous just because they'd never had any kind of anesthesia before and
Yeah.
they were scared. Surgery's a scary day for a lot of people. And
Yeah.
he was so gentle and kind and calm and understanding and like so happy to walk through the different processes that were gonna happen to try and help this person feel at ease, which I think is the biggest gift you can give someone before they're going to go back to surgery is give them peace of mind.
Yeah.
And so to watch him be able to offer that, it's like, all right, I'm sold. I'll take that one, please. So that was at 16, which was a long way from that was more than 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And then when I was applying to colleges, I told my dad right away, I think I want your job. He's like, okay, that's nice. There's a long road between here and there. So, you got to go to nursing school, and you have to work in an ICU. Like, oh, the ICU sounds gross. It's like, that's too bad. You got to go anyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I applied to several different schools, and the school I ended up getting a scholarship to was one that did not have a nursing program. And because my parents were both already kind of in the world of nursing, we had talked about how there was an option to, depending on what finances looked like at the different schools and sort of what the coursework was, how it was offered, to do a non-nursing degree and then do a nursing program afterwards. And that just happened to be what worked out with this, scholarship to a non-nursing school. That took me to my public health degree, which I did in part because it was going to cover a lot of my nursing prereqs. That CRNA was sort of still my end point out in the ether, but I ended up liking public health a lot more than I expected to. I think it's maybe more appreciated as a field now post-COVID. But especially when I was going to college, I'm like, I can't believe I haven't heard more about this already. Like these, huge systems level work efforts that are, trying to get everyone clean water and access to good food and education and safe sidewalks and all those kinds of things. I'm like, this is so important, and it is so important. And God bless anyone working in public health, because what the day-to-day work ends up being is a lot of like trying to convince people to care about things at meetings. And that was so tough.
Yes, yes. I think that's a ubiquitous quality of any workforce, any career, anywhere.
Yeah, so I was like, this is great. And I got to work with some epidemiologists and like see community health data. And I loved that. Like whenever I would have to explain my work to someone I was meeting for the first time, like hearing myself talk about, it, I'm like, man, that sounds really cool, really important. And then I'd show up to work and I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to get this person to come to this meeting again. Like, this is going to be so hard. Like, can we bake them cookies? What are we going to do? And so,
Mhm.
um, I was excited to pivot to nursing, where a lot of your day to day is very hands-on,
Yeah.
very just, like gritty. Like you're just in there with your patient, walking through what are your needs this hour, this 12-hour period, this week. So yeah, I went to nursing school in the final pre-COVID window. Nursing school was offered in
Wow.
2019. And then I took my position in the medical ICU in Denver. I did all three of my years of experience there, and that I I absolutely stayed in the same place because of my manager. She will always be an example to me of someone who can like create a positive work environment in spite of so much external adversity and chaos.
Yes.
She could cultivate team dynamic like nobody else I've ever seen. Um,
Mm.
so that made it really, really worth staying. And like her presence on the unit, I think, is what made it feel even possible to stay. Like she could offset so much of the other chaos. I'm like, okay, nope, we can soldier on, one more day, one more week.
Yeah.
So that was really special. And that staying there gave me the opportunity to make the most of those learning situations. So I got to take some higher acuity patients, do some open heart stuff, do some other devices, and then eventually apply for CRNA school, which both of my little sisters did undergrad at Gonzaga. So I had been up here to visit them, but Spokane was still a new place to me. And then when I was interviewing at different schools, I really fell in love with this program because kind of the same reason, you'll notice a theme here. Like I like I like to be around people who seem to care about other people, and
Yeah.
the faculty here are so invested in their students, and there's going to be challenges at any program because school's hard and the logistics of operating a school are hard, but
Hmm.
um, I really felt like the people here were, the faculty were deeply invested in the success of their students, and the students that were there at the time that I interviewed felt that way about their classmates as well. Like they, as a collective, were trying for success as a group. Um, yeah, why would you want something to be unnecessarily difficult? Like, let's
Yeah.
all pull each other up and try and succeed as a whole because I don't want to be, putting effort into pushing someone else down and trying to succeed myself. That seems counterintuitive. So it was all really encouraging, and I'm super happy to be here, and I'm super duper happy to be almost done as well.
Let's not lose sight of that fact amidst it all. Well, I mean, because it's challenging. There's still the work. There's still the matter of everything. There is anything when you're making yourself a better person. Rarely does that ever, I don't even know if it ever comes easy. It's always at those costly moments. It's always, you know what I mean? The most challenging things that you face in your life. Those are the things that improve you as a person, improve your character, and build you up to that person who is then turning around and reaching towards others. Like you're saying, these communities that are like, oh my gosh, like, you know what I mean? We want our students to succeed. And I love that. I love that about Gonzaga. I love it about any institution, whether they're educational or healthcare or otherwise, that have that. Because it's so easy in this day and age to just go, I'm going to mail it in. I'm going to, you know what I mean? Or, a student's just a number or an employee's just a number. And that's not the case. Like it's value the person behind what it is that you're doing. I'm going off on a tangent, and I don't want to go off on a tangent. This is your episode, but that's how passionate I am about it. And the way you phrase that, how you bring that to light with your word choice, that's exactly it. That's what it should always be about. And so thank you for sharing that bit of it. I one last question before we flip into side B here and get into your second episode. But and I hate to pull back from the current amazing experience you're in that you're also excited to be done with in a year and almost 365 days. But the accelerated program, for those that are like, I'm doing a standard program, or I've not heard of an accelerated program, what did that look like for you? What were and especially from the perspective of you already have a bachelor's degree at the time you start this accelerated program. So what was the time commitment normally? Or if you took it at their pace, and then what was the time investment on your end?
Sure. So, Regis had a couple different programs that I think were designed to meet people where they're at, and depending on how you're wanting to invest that time. So they had an option for people who were wanting to work during school, where you were doing over a couple of years, evening and weekend classes and clinicals. And then if you found yourself in a position to take a year off and knock it out, then you could do this accelerated program that was 12 months, January through December. And our schedule almost the entire time did not change. You would have 3 days of class from 8 to 5, and then 2 days of clinical that were, as we all know, just depends a little bit. That could have been 8 hours of clinical, that could have been 12 hours of clinical. Like,
Yeah.
it's depends on the unit, the preceptor, what's going on the unit at that time.
The specialty, yeah.
Exactly, yeah. 3 clinical days, 2 class days until you got to your final capstone. And then that was just full time on the unit. And then we had like a reflection class at the end. And so it was easy to focus because truly 100% of your brain power had to be on nursing all the time. I think having my baby sister, who is now a NICU nurse, went through Gonzaga's traditional nursing program. She and I would talk a lot about just sort of, there are some things that are consistent for all those hustling through nursing school, and there are some things that are a little more unique to the path or program that you're in. And I think something that was different between our experiences that, everyone in my program had a different bachelor's degree, so they'd had a college experience already where they were taking extracurriculars or studying abroad or involved in clubs and doing other things. And then they'd done all their basic science prerequisites, and the classes we were taking were very nursing specific, so it was things like assessment, pathophysiology, because most people only took regular physiology, med-surg 1, med-surg 2, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It's very nursing specific coursework with the expectation that there's a hard and fast set of prereqs that you have to have before you're starting at that point. But then all you're doing is nursing, and you're not trying to balance that with the other life experiences that come when you're 18 to 22. And so it had its pros and its cons, but it was very, very immersive for sure. Yeah. And I think it worked well for me and for what I was looking for, since I had already had that college experience. But I also respect my sister and anyone going through a traditional nursing program so much, because nursing school is job training. It is 100% hands-on job training, which is a lot more almost responsibility that you hold in your hands while going through school than your classmates that are majoring in other things, even if they're hard majors. Like
Yeah.
you can have a chemistry major that's working very hard, and the day-to-day responsibility they have to another human being is not going to be quite at the level that you are as a nursing student, trying to learn how to keep these people safe and alive.
Yeah. Very, very true. Very, very true. And I just love that that's what sets nursing apart. I'm careful not to say, yes, we're a little biased, and yes, it's the best career out there, better than any career, any other major you could possibly have. No offense to everybody else, but I try to be careful not to lean into that one too hard, other than the fact that it does set it apart in the regards that exactly how you're saying. You have human lives in your hands, and it's what makes it simultaneously exhilarating and terrifying while you're learning, while you're trying not to pee your pants on any given clinical shift or things like that. So, this has been so much fun. I cannot wait for part 2, you guys. I know what's coming down the pike. Well, I don't even know what's coming down the pike. I know a little bit, but Hannah definitely knows what's coming down the pike. So, do not skip episode 2. We're going to dive into some more fantastic pointers that she has. We're going to take you all the way back to Hannah in nursing school and maybe what bridges that gap between nursing education that we just talked about and nursing practice, things she wishes she knew, as well as a bunch of other things. So Hannah, you ready to make a flip to the other side?
Let's go to part 2.
Let's go! Here's what's happening on the next episode of Feeding Our Young.
I know it can be really hard to step onto a new unit, and everybody knows each other and has various preconceived notions of one another, and you alone, or maybe you and one other new person, are the fresh meat, and it can be really hard to figure out where you sit in that existing social group. And I think one of the things that was advice I received and has been super helpful to me is assume that you have something to learn from everyone. Because you probably do. And most of the time, it's something you will want to take with you. And sometimes you're learning something you don't want to do, but you're still learning.
Mm-hmm.
And that shows a humility for you as the new person, and also gives you the opportunity to sort of get a sense of what are people's strong suits. Like, okay, this person is really good with, this particular type of patient. Like, what can I learn from them about how they navigate the situation? And this other person is really good with, complicated family members. What can I learn from them? And I think trying to both have the attitude of I can learn something from everyone, and also looking for the strong suits in everyone will make it infinitely easier to work with everyone.
Did you like today's episode of Feeding Our Young? Let today's honored guests know by emailing us at thanks@feedingouryoung.org. Also, if you are a nursing student, nurse, or a nursing instructor and would like to be featured on a future episode, please email us a few details about yourself at the very special email address mystory@feedingouryoung.org. If you have a question you would like addressed in a future Q&A episode, please send it to q@feedingouryoung.org. For all other inquiries, please email us at info@feedingouryoung.org or text us at area code 509-ALL-THEM, 509-255-8436. We're so excited to have you return to hear our next honored guest. Be sure to follow us on TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at Feeding Our Young LLC. Again, that's username Feeding Our Young LLC. Until next time, be encouraged and go find someone to encourage today.